Over the years, Los Angeles has become a beacon for crazy cults and failed utopias. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland from the west. 2 days later, France and Britain declared war on Germany, which was the beginning of World War II. But prior to the war, the Nazi Party was gaining support from around the world. Only minutes from one of LA's most prestigious neighborhoods lies a dark history of Nazi sympathizers who built a compound waiting for the glory days when Germany would take over the United States.
So the city of Los Angeles is actually surrounded by a couple mountain ranges. To the north, you have the San Gabriel Mountains, and out by the coast, you have the Santa Monica Mountain Range. Now, Murphy Ranch is located up a canyon that's only minutes away from one of the most affluent neighborhoods in the city. As you drive in, you're passing multi-million-dollar houses, and right at the entrance of the trailhead, there's an $83 million house that's 20,000 square feet, and it just sits on the hillside up above the trailhead. So I just climbed up to the top of a mountain, and right below me is Rustic Canyon. And at the bottom of it is Murphy Ranch. And it was named after Jesse M. Murphy, which is actually not a real person. It was a cover for Winona and Norman Stevens. Now, we know this because of a local historians who interviewed a man named John Vincent. He's a UCLA professor, and he actually purchased this land from the Stevens directly, and he got their entire story. So this is the start of the property line, and we're about to descend down into the canyon. But I want to paint the picture of where we're at. It's 1933. The Nazi Party was gaining power in Germany, and here in the US, there were groups of Nazi sympathizers. Now, we don't know if Norman and Winona Stevens were Nazi sympathizers to start. Norman was a successful businessman in the silver mines of Colorado, and Winona was a Chicago heiress. So they were a wealthy couple. Now, Winona had a passion for learning about the world outside of our reality, the metaphysical world and the paranormal. And that led her to a man named Herr Schmidt, who was said to have mystical powers and he could see into the future. And he convinced the couple that Nazi Germany was eventually going to conquer the US. So Schmidt urged the couple to build a self-sustaining farm down here in the valley floor. And this was going to be a place where they could wait out the war and get ready for the rise of Nazis here in the US. This is one of the staircases down to the bottom of this canyon. It's over 500 steps. And as you hike through this trail, you'll find these staircases all along the canyon wall. So this is the location of the main gates. This is the entrance to the community. Now, when I started hiking here a few years ago, you could actually see the gates, but the Park Service removed them recently. And outside the walls, all this chain link fence and barbed wire, they would have patrol units up and down this road, making sure that nobody was intruding on whatever they were doing down here in the canyon. Now, the Stevensons and Herr Schmidt, along with all their followers, built a stronghold with a bunch of different styles of buildings. There was a power building with a massive diesel generator capable of providing electricity to this entire community. They had a working farm with livestock, multiple water tanks, and they had a few different houses spread among the property. This right here used to be one of them. When I first started coming here, this was a full standing house with stables underneath it, and you could go explore and walk through it. And now it's completely just destroyed and in pieces. And part of that is the people that have been out here and just kind of destroying all of this, but also partly nature just taking its course and tearing everything down. There was also plans to do a 4-story mansion down here. And the plans that they had were super detailed. There was going to be a music room, there was going to be an indoor pool with a glass ceiling, there was going to be some social rooms and guest rooms for everyone that's going to show up. But they never ended up making this mansion. Instead, they built a spot here. It was like a metal structure with a carport over there, And that was where the Stevensons lived until they left this canyon. Now it's gone. It's a place where people have been camping and burning fires, probably parties. But at one point, I was able to see that this was a big structure. It's just graffiti now. So the master design of this whole compound seemed less about surviving a war and more for creature comforts and luxury. And there's speculation that they were more focused on this becoming a place of power for the Nazi regime here in the US, and they wanted to be ready for when the Führer himself came to visit. The Stevensons spared no expense when building out this canyon, and they spent over $4 million, which, if you put that into perspective, in today's world, accounting for inflation and everything else, that's around $90 million. That's more money than that crazy house we saw at the beginning of this whole journey. It's a lot of money. Now, on weekends, they would have gatherings here at the ranch where they would bring all the local Nazi sympathizers and they would hang out and practice military drills, getting ready for the collapse of the United States. Now, this is a massive water tank, and I have no idea what happened, but as you can see here, something hit it and dented it. It's insane. But as you come back around the back end here, you'd see all the trash. And basically, throughout just exploring all of Murphy Ranch, you'll just see that people have come up here and trashed it. A lot of graffiti, but just also a lot of cans and glass and just garbage. Now, everything came to an abrupt end in 1941 when Pearl Harbor was bombed. Authorities had been keeping tabs on Murphy Ranch, and as soon as the bombing happened, they swooped in and they arrested dozens. They disbanded the whole colony, and apparently they caught Herr Schmidt, even though there is no record of him being arrested or even him existing as a real person. Fast forward to today, and this has become a destination for hikers and graffiti artists and basically anyone to come out and explore the ruins, but also they're trashing them in the process. And with its rise of popularity in the last few years, the city had to take action. And in 2016, they ended up taking down a bunch of the buildings. And all that's left are a few main structures, which probably would have been super expensive to remove, like this powerhouse. So instead of getting rid of it, they just completely sealed it off and you can't actually get in it anymore. Stories like these remind us that we can never forget our past, no matter how ugly it is. Who knows if the Stevensons would have become fascists and dumped millions into this crazy idea if they never met Herr Schmidt. Our world has become more fractured and divided than ever, and we need to come together as communities and solve problems even with our differences, rather than listening to the Herr Schmidts of the world who will push us down a dark path.